Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel and another deck profile for post-rotation. Today, let's see how Palkia Vstar is doing and can it keep up in this post-rotation. So, it's actually doing right now, getting a couple wins, and its main partners are either Ice Rider or Kyogre. Now, the Kyogre one was definitely much more an earlier post-rotation style like list people were trying it out, and I'm a big fan of this version. I think it's a really good late finisher. You can just set up, do normal Palkia stuff, and then use Kyogre late game with the help of the access of Gardevoir. But there is a lot of setting up to do and trying to get the right combo pieces. So let's jump into the list. So it's very different to the Palkia we have been used to with the Inteleon line. We're on a 3-2 line of Palkia, not focusing highly on getting the higher version of Palkia's out there, but playing a 3-2 so you can guarantee get the Subspace Swell, Star Portal, which is pretty much how this deck can function. And then we do play a 4-4 line of Curlier. And then the 2 cards for the end. The Curlier is really good with the refinement ability where you can discard a card from your hand and draw 2. The idea is you want to get quite a lot of energies in your discard pile quite early on, get them in there, and then late game, energy recycle, shuffle the energies back in, use Gardevoir's, evolve your Curlier into Gardevoir to get the Shining Aura ability, where you look at the top 2 cards from your deck. If they are an energy card, attach them to your Pokemon, or basic energy. So the idea is you want to kind of set up the Kyogre, get loads of energies in the discard pile, shuffle them back in, and then hit and use Aqua Storm to do maybe 250 damage at the end of the turn. But there are lots of Manaphy. As you can see, we do have Manaphy of our own to protect our Curliers and Gardevoirs from any bench snipe damage. That's why how we can get around it is using Klefki and Canceling Clone. Klefki can be really good where we can just bring this up. Klefki can help shut down the abilities, as well as Canceling Clone, where we can bring it up and use Greninja or Palkia to get these KOs on the Manaphy, because that's really how we need to kind of get around it, because Manaphy is a big problem for this list. So yeah, it's a really fun one. Lots of bench sniping damages. So you kind of want to go around it as much as possible. With Canceling Clone, you could potentially go up to more if you are really worried. So lots of few one-off cards because we play 3 Iridas. Because Irida is such a strong card. Now, you can't get any tool cards. We're not running any tool cards, not running any stadium. So it is just items supporters in this list. So we do play Equine Horn as well. Equine Horn is very, very nice. Say you get a cheeky KO on, say, a Genesect and Mew, bring that back potentially if they have a high like Mew counts on there, and get a KO again with Aqua Storm on Kyogre. 2 Energy Recyclers as your way to shuffle back in your energies. And it's really, really powerful, especially in the late game, because you need that to set up the Aqua Storm. You want to draw for your entire deck and then make your deck just purely energies, similar how Lost Box Kyogre works, so you can do the maximum amount of damage. Lost Vacuum, so we could take away any Path to the Peaks that could be running around, because that's pretty scary to your board state. Then your Ball Search, you do run 3 Ultra Ball, 3 Battle VIP Pass. Not running a high count Battle VIP pass because it could technically clog up the hand, and you can easily remove it with Curliers. And then we play 4 level 4 Nest Ball. Most of our cards are basic Pokemon, so getting the best outs to get all the rolts out is what you need. And 4 level balls, like I said, it's a ways for you to get the Curliers out as quick as possible. Supporter-wise, we do run Roxanne as a way to kind of disrupt your opponent, as well as 2 bosses orders to try and like get around that Manaphy, because that Manaphy on your opponent's side is going to stick around as much as it can, because they could be playing Miriam. Miriam is an amazing new supporter. I believe I have covered it in some other deck profiles like Gardevoir. Ability to shuffle in up to 5 Pokemon into your deck. Then after you shuffle them in, draw 3 cards. Really, really strong. Way to recover some of your Pokemon, and then 2 Melanie to power up some of your Palkias and have a draw option, as well as your Irida. And 10 energies, quite high, but you do need to have as many energies as possible, because if you think about it, Kyogre needs to have 3 to attack with Aqua Storm, plus at least 10 in there, so that's 8 energies, which is a very high count. So I really like this list. It's very fun. I'm unsure how really versatile it can cope in this meta, but I think it's got a decent matchup, kind of. where it can do really well against these big Pokemon which aren't running many bench supporters. I do think against Arceus Toolbox and Mew VMAX, it has a decent matchup. Like if you're worried a bit about it, you could run a Drapion as an additional attacker. Whereas I feel like with Arceus, they're not focusing primarily on bench support, like bench like protecting. So you can use Greninja and Kyogre to really great effect. Lost Zone Box, you can struggle with. It is definitely about keeping up with it, try and do as much as possible, and being really wary about the Manaphy. Like if you can get a KO the Manaphy with a Canceling Cologne with Greninja, you're in a really good spot. But that's something you've got to consider about, because Lost Zone Box can really fight back because they can play maybe one or two Manaphys, but without having Ordinary Rod, or maybe they might play a Clara, you're in a potentially good spot if they're not running that. Obviously not Ordinary Rod because that's rotated. And then Gardevoir EX is pretty decent right now for a matchup. They take a while to set up. You could take a while to set up, and then you could try and hit hard, but be careful for the Zacian V, because it will probably play Sky Soul Stone to get a 3 prize KO on your active Palkia. Negative wise, I do think Single Strike Lugia, because it's Lugia, it's incredibly fast and versatile. It can really do damage. It can one-hit KO everything on the board state, so it can be a real bit of a struggle. As well as Lost Zone Tina, they have 1 prize attackers. They can one-hit KO everything on your board state, and it could just be really detriment to you. If they will focus primarily on, they don't need to worry about Manaphy because they have Sableye, so they can get KOs that way. So that's something you've got to consider about. And I do think Miraidon EX, because it can hit for weakness against your Palkias, that's something you could be a bit of a tricky thing. It could potentially be a 50-50. Like if Miraidon just doesn't do any setup, you can really focus and do really well, especially if you play Klefki. You put Klefki in the active, you get to draw loads of cards through your Curliers, you'll be in a good spot. So it is a fun deck. It does have some decent matchups. It is doing all right, but it isn't the most popular right now version of Palkia. So will you be trying out this Palkia? You can nearly play this deck right now in the standard format, except like 3 cards. So that's really fun to try and consider thinking about. I think this is a really interesting list, and I also really can't wait to try it out. I've done a few testing with it. I'm going to be testing a bit more tonight as well, and it makes me really enjoy playing Palkia again because it's so versatile and so quick with the Curlier draw, and the big end game with the Kyogre play is so strong. It does take a bit of thinking to do, so that's something you've always got to consider about when you play these style of lists. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind down the road, and give me a like if you enjoy it. My name is Charlie TCG. I hope you guys have enjoyed this deck profile, and I will see you in a few days. Bye for now.